Alrighty, everybody. It's me, Ben, here. I'm here with Carl, and today we're going to go over our finals match for the 2025 World Championship for SolForge Fusion. How you doing, Carl?
I'm good, Ben. Thanks so much for having me on here to talk about this. Well, first watch and then talk about this match.
Yeah, this was a really intense game. I when I was watching it back, I'd like my heart was just racing as it was getting closer and closer to the end. Just remembering like how close it was for that one final turn, but we'll get into that. Um, but yeah, so why don't we talk about the decks that we were running?
Yeah, no, I was really curious, kind of what your thought process was leading up to Worlds in terms of kind of deciding what to run, deciding what specific pairs to run, and then yeah, like other things that kind of went into your decision making process.
Yeah, so for me, I had a couple different decks that I thought could be competitive. I don't think I have the most top tier Rumblespark deck, but I do have a pretty good one. I think the reason I chose to kind of rule that one out was that it's just so reliant on getting that Rumblespark, and if you miss it in the first cycle and you fall behind, it's a bit of a gamble on that Gargard. Even though this deck that I played is a bit of a gamble. Uh, that said, the other decks that I like to run are the traditional like green, purple, life gain value type decks. Not necessarily like the I don't have a very good like Forge Seal Mantis Crogius one, but I do have some pretty good sort of purple green life gain value. All the free stuff like Swamp Moss and Zaraswells and that kind of stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
like those, but they tend to go long, and if you stumble against Rumblespark, it can be problematic. And since it's a longer game plan, I was a bit worried that if there were any other infinite decks going on, that it would just not be able to push enough damage quickly enough. So
Mm-hmm.
I ultimately decided to try out the ultimate, the this combo deck that resolves around the Infinite Mantis. Using the set three Cersei that can let you do the Darker Birth. Like ever since they made that rules change, I've been exploring it. Uh, and basically I've just been trying to find a pair that I felt was consistent enough at flipping the bones and getting that Dark Rebirth going. So I eventually settled on this. I by no means do I think either list is like optimal, as you'd say, because I think it does have some weaknesses to aggro. But I felt like I didn't, over the past few years, Rumblespark has only been like sort of lightly showing up. So I figured, I could probably lose at least once to Rumblespark and still do pretty well. And that's kind of what went into my decision making for this deck. What about you? What were you running, and what was your decision process?
Sure, sure. Um, uh, I ended up going with a basically a Dark Forge Drain deck. It is a Forge Seal Mantis Crogius Dark Forge Drain deck with five spells and or five spells in the green half and Dark Forge Drain at two. And then I was running the Steel Rosetta with Inspire so that I could access that Dark Force Drain at two. And the Aloyan half that I have is it's a pretty strong deck. It has a Pocketmancer and a drone, steadfast drone, which can be pretty big, um, and really good spells. Some of my favorites like Sonic Burst, Electronet, Scypian Augmentation, and Warmonger Mod.
Yeah,
And yeah, those are just all great spells. And then the really fun card in there is Utera Charger Betrayer, which is always nice to kind of like make it a you make it an basically an 11 card Utera deck instead of a 10 card Utera deck, which
yeah,
can
yeah.
be very helpful at times. Um, and I really wanted to try to do something that didn't use Mantis, and like I was testing almost every variation of scientist build that I could make, um, and it ended up not being anywhere near the level that I felt like it had to be. So I decided to run this deck that did pretty well in a couple other prize tournaments last year. And yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
had a similar situation where I lost to Rumble Spark, but was still able to kind of come back and still get into the finals.
yeah, no, I mean your deck definitely showed its strength. We actually ended up playing twice, didn't we? I
Yes,
think yeah,
yeah.
we played in the Swiss rounds as well. Um, I think actually you were my only opponent that I didn't go infinite with in the in the Swiss round. I think I actually killed you the old fashioned way with
Yeah,
damage. I think. Um,
definitely.
but yeah, let's. So yeah, if you want to do it, we can get into the match.
Sure.
So well, actually, let's talk a little bit about how you felt it performed during the Swiss rounds.
Yeah, so my first match was against Carly, and she was running her RSE Rumble
Hmm.
Spark deck. And yeah, my deck did not really do what it wanted to do. I wasn't drawing the spells that I needed and wasn't playing them, and then it just got. And she also had a turn one, cycle one Rumble Spark flip via
Yes.
RSE into Wildfire Maiden, Betrayer Wildfire Maiden, and there was nothing I could do. I think she played her Nova, and then I killed it with Eterra Charger, and then she flipped the Rumble Spark. So
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of didn't go well. But it happens. And then my second match was against Thomas, and Thomas was running a high life gain value deck, which is very strong. And I think one thing that was interesting about my deck is that it can run uh, or I can move into different play patterns depending on my opponent.
Right.
And uh, you know, um, Thomas was gaining so much life, putting the goalposts so far high up there that my only chance of doing anything was Krogius. Um, and I got very, very lucky that I had a crazy cycle 3, turn 1 Krogius with a Mantis on the board that had already Darkforged Drain like a big, Stegodon or whatever
Hmm.
with Breakthrough. And then I was able to play level 3 Krogius onto the Mantis after I activated repurpose the Mantis, and then Dark Force drained the Krogius. And you can't, those stats are there no matter what,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. You can't do anything to get it back down. You just have to hope that you can block it enough time. But I mean, like, what was your Krogius? It was like probably
It
in the
ended up
50s.
being, well, it ended up being a 64-64,
Oof.
I think.
Yeah.
um, and Yeah, that may have been I may have drawn like Forge Seal in that hand as well, or something crazy. So I was able to potentially double Dark Forge Drain that Krogius. I don't remember exactly, but if I didn't go into the Krogius play line for that match, I didn't have much else going for me because I was pretty behind up until that point.
Right. Yeah. So it was kind of all in on the Krogius for that one.
Yeah. Um, and then I faced an Infinite Life Gain deck um, that Jacob was playing, and I was able to, you know, uh, close that game out before any sort of combos were able to happen. And then that's when I got my rematch against Carly, um, and that that time my deck ran much more in the fashion that I needed it to. Plus, she didn't see her Nova in the first cycle, I'm pretty sure, or until
Hmm.
late cycle one. So I had a much better chance of sustaining
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah. I feel like once some like if the Rumble again that was sort of my feeling when I was playing Rumble Sparker, that if you don't get it in the first couple turns, that you and you can't control the board, then your opponent's gonna get too much board presence
Hmm.
to make the Rumble Spark that useful. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, I mean, of course, then against our first match, yeah, I kind of felt maybe in our match, I had a couple good turns. My deck wasn't running exactly the way I wanted it to, um, but I think I just, I don't know. There was, is it's very interesting thinking back upon that match and
mhm.
then this match because you in this match,
Yeah,
as we'll see, you barely did any damage to me at all, which
right.
seemed crazy.
Yeah, my deck
Yeah.
can, depending on the draws, it can be aggressive if it needs to be. But as we saw in the finals match, my draws were not even remotely in that direction. My opening hand was pretty bad, so I was kind of on the back foot for most of that match. I'm trying to remember my matches. A lot of them came down to just stalling out to go infinite. Had a lot of very close calls where it was basically down to the last turn. I definitely, when I was playing against Carly, um, it basically came down to whether or not she drew the flame jet in the final cycle, and first,
Mm.
and if she was able to do that, she would have killed me before I could go infinite. But instead, I think she drew an elementalist ritual and was only able to get me down to 3 health. So it was just as like the one card that she needed to draw to keep it from going. So, and then I think I played against Brandon as well. And I think again the pro I knew that my deck would be strong against sort of the classic Gurple decks because they tend to not really close the game out till cycle 3, and usually by then, if I'm gonna go off, or all the pieces are kind of set up by then. So the only really like critical matches I was worried about was the aggressive Rumble Spark decks, and I was able to get through those in the Swiss rounds.
I had
Ultimately,
I actually had one more question for
yeah,
you. Did the fact that uh, you know that you knew that like set four was likely not going to be a part of this tournament at all due to the fact that there was no print on demand or anything else, did that go into your decision making process?
yeah. I don't think I would have tried this deck if Set Four had been in the mix because of just how aggressive those decks can be. Um, some of those decks can finish the game out like early cycle 2, and that would have been too much of a liability for I
Yeah.
think the infinite decks, and I'm guessing by next year, especially if there's more print on demand, and if the set 4 is more in circulation, plus whatever comes out with set 5. I just don't know that the infinite life gain decks will be fast enough
Mm-hmm.
to fight against those. And obviously, the tools you have are not going to be with the new sets. You have to use set 1 and set 3 together to make it work. Um,
I I did buy a set for display on Friday, and if I opened a Dark Flame 2 deck with, a decent number of spells, I might have run it with my
yeah,
Forge Mantis, but I was not so fortunate.
yeah, and it would have had to have been like a pretty good list where you could churn through all the spells. I mean, your deck has like the upgrade too, right? So you can push extra spells through, and you got that free Electronet, so that's really good at charging up the Dark Forge Drain.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, so my deck was the set 3 Cersei, had Bones of Soul at 2, Soul Siphon at 3, and then Sorrow at 4. So I didn't have the Soul Swap as a backup, but in terms of if I face another Infinite Life Gain deck, I had the Vampiric Dire Hound as an outlet to fight other Infinite Life Gain.
Yeah, I thought that was significant. That I think your version was the only deck that had an infinite damage combo in addition to infinite life.
Yeah, and I think the other Infinite Life decks were having a little bit of trouble and kind of cannibalizing each other during the Swiss, because I know they ended up facing each other a few times.
Yeah, you were the only, or no, yeah, you and Jacob were the only infinite life
Yeah.
of the four that I faced, and I think I said during the game that I was very happy to go first.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
you were saying that because he wanted to push extra damage.
Or just have like, have a window in cycle 3 before you can activate your Dark Rebirth that,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that I could, potentially finish the game before you have a chance to.
Yeah. So you lead off with the Summoning Council. I follow up with the Haunting Maw. My hand was really bad. I had very little to work with in terms of what to play. None of my real key cards were in there, and all my creatures were dinky. So
Yeah, I think that was very fortunate for me that, uh, yeah, I think I had a pretty strong board presence for the for a good while.
yeah.
Um,
So you played the War Tusk. It got a little bit of a debuff from the Maw. And then here I play the Immortal Echoes. Um, it's an important card for me to level up because if I miss the Mantis, it's a way for me to catch it back up. It's my only upgrade card, so I figure like even though I'm struggling with the board presence, at least that takes out a wisp and gives me some future potential here.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, and I think I commented that I was very happy to be stopped. You have a swamp moss in your deck, right?
yes, and from here on, I'm trying to get back up above 50, in case I do draw the swamp moss. So here I'm on Forge. I just throw out the Dire Hound. So that's my part of my infinite damage combo. So Dire Hound is a must level in this deck. So I throw it out here. My plan is to pump it up with a Druid's Chant, so I can try and kill off your War Tusk here and maybe have a body left over. Um, and I, as I'm playing this line, I'm thinking about that there's a like 33% chance you have the Electronet, and I'm just feeding your Dark Forge Drain if I pump this guy. And so you drop down the Overseer, free to take out that Maw there.
Yeah, I was feeling like, wow, I can't believe I'm going to be getting so many favorable trades here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then so yeah, I do the Druid's Hand again. I'm just trying to get my life total up to try and if I draw the next turn, the Swamp Moss, then it's free play. It gives me that extra body. And I think yeah. Then so you did end up having the Electronet, which I was worried about, but there's not much I could do about it.
hmm
And then yeah, there's that Betrayer, Terror Charger there that takes out the Dire Hound, and that pushes me back below the 50 mark.
Yeah, and usually, I would like, replace replace the gizmo to buff the Utero Charger, but I just felt like, you know, I'm gonna I'm gonna keep as wide a presence as possible.
Yeah, no, I think that was a probably a correct call at the time to try and have a bunch of different threats because my deck is not very good at going wide. Um, with the exception of like the Mystical Druid can sometimes help with that
hmm
depending on when or if I draw it. Yeah, so here you got the Aether Forge Oracle into upgrading the Botanimate.
Yeah, and so I think, I thought about this later that like maybe I shouldn't have upgraded the Botanimate, or maybe I should have held it. Um, I was worried that, or yeah, if I had held it, that I could have stopped some of the destruction engine,
Hmm.
but also your exalt isn't out just yet, so I think if you had drawn the soothing mantis right here, and been able to kind of get that going, then that would have been really bad. But I think I was lucky that you weren't able to get a ton of value out of this just yet.
Yeah, so I led with the Blight Witch after you upgraded the Botanimate because I felt like it was pretty clear, like the coast was clear at that point with what removal options you had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just want to kind of have the Blight Witch across from our War Tusk there because I figured that was a pretty decent block. Um,
Yeah.
and my plan at this time, and so this part of the video gets a little bit choppy. The recording froze for a little bit, so I'm going to try and describe what happens here after you make your play. So let's go ahead and keep it going. So you end up, think you decide. Well, tell me your thought process here with the. I think you play the Scipio augmentation
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I played the Scipio augmentation, and yeah, I think this was probably the wrong. I did this in the wrong order. I mean, I think I wasn't as punished for it as I thought might have been. Sort of thinking back on it, but I think if I had just upgraded the Scipio augmentation and saved the Botanimate, then maybe it would have been useful. But on the other hand, maybe if you felt that like uh, having your Blight Witch Botanimated was still 50-50 chance, you may not have played it. You may have chosen a different card. So you
Yeah,
know
I think if you had played or if you had upgraded the augmentation instead, I might have waited till my second play to play the Bite Witch to make sure I could actually get it off after I played a creature.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so here, again, the video freezes for a moment. You do 2 damage to my Blight Witch. So here, what happens is I play an Arrogant Batterhide to push back your Aetherforge Oracle, and then I immediately sacrifice it to play a Toxic Spores to kill off the Utera Charger. So that leaves me with slightly buffed up Blight Witch. We get that extra 5 damage off the board. I still have, I think, what, about 4 damage incoming at that point. So I'm not too far behind, but you still have a really big board presence going on. Um, and I have the Blight Witch survive till the next cycle, which is important because I haven't leveled up too many of my spells yet. The Blight Witch is a good way to churn through extra cards and actually trigger the Bones of Solace.
Yep.
Um, so that's kind of what I'm thinking about at the time. And I think so. I was off Forge, so yeah, I'm on Forge in the next cycle. So we're doing our shuffling. And what are you thinking about going into the second cycle? Like, how are you feeling?
Um, I'm definitely feeling pretty good. I think based on how our game was going, or how our other game was going. At this point, I'm feeling pretty good. I've been able to play spells, upgrade them,
Mm-hmm.
um, keep a board presence. Like this War Tusk has just been hanging out for a while,
Yeah,
all cycle, um, and yeah, I'm sort of, and also I'm relieved that you didn't, draw your Soothing Mantis, so you
yeah,
didn't get a head start on getting those counters put on there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, my missing the mantis in the first cycle was a bit painful. So here, I'm thinking about playing the Haunting Maw, but then I decide that, um, I don't want to rely on your play, so I decide to actually activate the Bones of Solace naturally. Like, for a second, I almost played the Mantis, but I think that would have been the wrong order to do it because I have the Nyrali and Gulfer in hand. So what I'm able to do, I actually didn't draw any spells either in this hand.
Right. Yep.
So I'm like, okay, my Blight Witch is probably just gonna die before I get to use it, but that's okay. So I use the Bones of Solace with the Engulfer to just take out that gizmo, um, in order to just keep you from having any extra replacement value in case you draw your Apostlemancer or something. Because
Yeah.
that'll really put me behind if you're able to start chaining through creatures with the Apostlemancer.
hmm Yeah, and I figured at this point that like if you're not activating your Blight Witch, then you likely don't have a spell.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a pretty
but
good assumption.
um, and I think here I was wishing, wish I had like some mobility or some way to get out of the way of your Bones of Solace, and and this is not a great play. I'm basically just getting things back the way they were.
Hmm.
Um,
But I think
but
you're trying to charge up your Dark Forge Drain, right, with the spell.
yeah, and also yeah, Warmonger mod can be a great card.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and I think I have
Yeah. So here, oh, I just gonna say, I draw the Mantis in this first hand, and I just set up to trade with the Overseer just to try and get the lanes under control because they're all so full. Um,
mhm.
and then here, I forget what your next play was. I guess we'll see it in a second.
Yeah, so I don't remember what I ended up. Oh yeah, I just ended up playing Elysian Rain again, like a level one Warmonger mod and a level one Elysian Rain at the start of cycle two is not great. Um, but again, yeah, there are more spells.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could have done two things here. I could have activated, Dark Forge Drain. It wouldn't have been great value, but maybe it would have put a little bit more pressure on. And then you could
Hmm.
also see here that I did have, well, I had
Ah,
Mantis, Forge Seal, and Crogius.
right.
So, I don't want to see. I could have played one of those maybe instead of Lysine Rain, but I really don't want to see those first turn of cycle two.
Right.
Yeah, so I drew all level one cards. I could have replaced my Oracle with Crogius just to slow down the counters on your Bones of Solace.
Yeah, I'm not sure because that would have left the Engulfer out to keep doing stuff. But yeah, I mean, it probably would have slowed down the counters. It's kind of hard to say like what the cascading consequences of that would be. So here you play
Yeah,
the Botanimate on the Blight Witch. I knew that was going to come eventually. Um,
yeah. I mean, I think it's I was glad that I was able to stop stop the destruction engine there. But again, I'm burning a level two Botanimate on a level one
mhm.
Blight Witch, which isn't great.
I still think it's worth it because you know you shouldn't have to care about what happens in cycle three. You're trying to get me down before the end of this cycle, really. Uh,
Exactly. Yeah, and that's also the reason that I wasn't, in contrast to like the game against Thomas, I'm not going for Krogius at all because I just need to get the game to end.
Yeah, exactly. And so here I play my mystical druid. We get the two wisps out. For a second, I'm trying to think of where I want to put them. I decide not to put in front of the gizmo because if you replace the gizmo, I want to have the option to put something there to trade more favorably. I think I'm kind of priced into playing my Corpus Clips on this turn, so just to try and get another counter on the bones. So both my plays this turn are kind of like set in stone, regardless of what you do.
Hmm,
I know you're not going to throw anything in front of that druid. I have to, I only have a few more turns to get this thing charged up before the third cycle.
right. Yeah, and I think yeah, I think this is my big moment for Dark Forge Drain, that I can, I think I'm going to play a level 2 Summoning Council, so I'm just
Yeah,
double checking
checking what,
everything.
double checking what I could have at my disposal. Yeah.
What are the possibilities? And this is probably, this is my least favorite aspect of playing Dark Forge Drain is the timing of,
Hmm.
when you use it. And, I don't have any aggressive creatures in my deck, so it's very hard to, um, activate it at a point where there's not going to be a window for you to remove it.
Right. My deck is very light on ways to deal with the Dark Forge Drain, and it's actually Dark Forge Drain was not an archetype I had really thought about when I was choosing this deck. So my tools were limited to basically like the Batter Hide and the Batter
That
Hide.
that batter hide was the bane of my
Yes,
existence,
it
I will tell
was
you.
definitely this match's MVP. Having it just at the right time a lot of time.
Yeah, but here, I was pretty much, I wasn't expecting much to happen here. I was honestly surprised that I got, whatever, 20 damage through at this point.
Yeah, this was a big chunk, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm even gonna make it to cycle 3 with that Oak Father out. So yeah, here I play the Corpus Cliffs just to get another charge counter, or trade with your Wisp. And then all of my entire board is going away um, at the end of this turn because all the wisps
Yeah.
are just. I'm just trying to absorb damage, and I basically resigned to the fact that I'm going to have to go infinite this game at this point. So
Mm-hmm.
all of my plays are concentrating on trying to make that a reality.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think that like if I hadn't drawn both Mantis and Forge Seal um, that first turn, that I would have had a 50-50 chance to draw it here, and it
exactly.
could have
Yeah.
could have been game over.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's a big. Well, although I think you do push the Oak Father back
Yeah. I think this
immediately.
is the turn I get the batter hide. I'm like, okay, that's a relief, so I don't have to worry about it for a turn. And so yeah, I put it in the lane because I'm positive I'm gonna be sacrificing it. You don't care about damage, so um, it's not gonna be very useful for a blocker. And I know I don't have to worry about the Mantis or the Forge Seal at this point, so I don't have to worry about blocking the two front lane creatures as much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think at this point, um, at this point in the game, I'm just starting to think of, okay, I just need to put the bodies down and keep them on there and try to buff them and try to
Yeah,
push some damage. I think that one thing that I was really really missing was Apocalypser. Um,
yeah. I had by this point I kind of had forgotten I even had it in the deck.
mm-hmm.
And that'll actually come up later. So here I'm just buffing my Blight Witch as big as possible to try and keep it alive for the next turn and give myself that option of um, getting those extra counters on the bones. But I think we're about to go into cycle 3 at the end of this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, and I was very lucky that Blight Witch had exactly 14.
yeah, you're able to double hit it with the charger, and I was like, oh, dang it. And here I'm taking even more damage. I didn't get to block that extra 3 I was trying to stop, and yeah, that ends up working out perfectly uh, for there. And yeah, there's
Yeah.
that poor swamp moss that couldn't find its way onto the board after getting hit for 24 by a or 22 by an oak father.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
And I think the other problem is I wasn't able to play my dire hound. So that was a little awkward too. I
mm-hmm.
drew it at a very awkward time where I didn't have the right board presence to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was definitely concerned about a level 3 Dire Hound just doing the infinite damage.
Yeah. Well, luckily with the dire hound, if it can do infinite damage, I should have already gained infinite life by that point because I have to have had the mantis show up. Um, so it's really more of an outlet to try and kill another infinite life gain deck, or at least like the dire hound chaining it down just to gain a lot of life is using use level
Right.
3 to bring back the level 2 to bring back the level 1. Um, just to pad my life total as
Mm-hmm.
well as trigger the bones over and over again. So here you're on the forge. I look at my hand. I'm like, this is not going great, but I managed to pick up the. We'll see how this plays out. Um, so you're on the forge, and I think I'm not mistaken, you dropped the Mantis out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I put the Mantis out, and I want to stay out of the Bones of Soulless lane, so I think I replaced something.
Hmm.
Um, I think I probably. I think it's funny that that War Tusk is still there from
I
turn
know
one.
it's been. It just I have not been able to get it off the board.
Even with the Maw.
Yeah, the mod did the
uh,
most damage to it because it nuked its health. I mean, like, how much damage did that save me, that mob, just by giving it two less attack?
it's true. It's true. Yeah, that's a big. That comes in big. But
Yeah.
I should have. I think I should have replaced the Wisp instead of the War Tusk because uh, I want some repurpose targets, and you can't repurpose a Wisp.
Right, that makes
Um,
sense.
um, but also maybe I can't remember what else I had, but maybe I was thinking that I'll maybe draw a Wissing Rain and be able to buff it or something.
Right, give it a couple extra points. So here I have to just kill the Mantis immediately because you have that repurpose active. So I'm like, I can't let you get another Dark Forge drain off here. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I
then
wonder if
that was kind of futile.
yeah, well, it ended up being kind of futile. But I do wonder if I had just Dark Force drained the Mantis itself. Unfortunately, it's not like stampeding or something useful.
Right, yeah. Um,
But yeah, so I know that batter hide is a problem. So I'm just like, I'm gonna try to spread these stats as wide as
yeah,
possible.
make me deal with every single creature there.
And yeah, I guess it wouldn't have mattered since both the War Tusk and the Wisp were at 3 attack,
Hmm.
that I wouldn't have been able to get it any higher than 21
Yeah.
either way.
So
Yeah,
here I push back that Oak Father. I'm going down to two.
yeah.
Um,
So
so that maw play, man, that extra two damage I didn't take from your War Tusk
yeah,
comes into play here.
that's crazy. That's crazy to think. Yeah, and also I'm just yeah, I guess yeah, I did have the Lycian Rain, so maybe I was thinking about
Yeah.
potentially playing that, but then yeah, since you
Yeah,
then
if the
got
Mantis
rid of
had
the Mantis.
survived, you would have been able to replace it with one of those wisps and just get that extra Oak Father damage too. So here
Um,
we're in our final turn. I'm on Forge, and I'm just trying to
but
think of like how to sequence this.
I think also maybe it was just I think it was actually just the wrong play because if I could have played two more Wisps and buffed the one there, then that would have been game over. Well, no, it wouldn't, because I would still need the extra Dark Force Rain. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you hadn't gotten rid of the Mantis,
yeah,
then that would have been game over. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So now you have drawn the Mantis, but
Yes.
so tell me about your thinking here. What?
So I was trying to. I don't know what I was thinking actually here. I was thinking I didn't want to just pop the Mantis and kill it immediately because I didn't have a creature of my own to pump. I was tired at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and I had completely forgotten about the Possumancer, and the correct play here would have been just to play the Mantis and flip the bones um, right away. So here, what I would do is play them. I should have played the Mantis in the bones lane, sacked it, given one of your creatures +8/+8 because it doesn't matter at that point, and that would have given me another 9 life from the
Mm.
bones flipping, getting that 6 life buff, and then the 3 from the Mantis. But instead, I play the druid, thinking like if you have any removal, at least I'll have one other creature to work with. If you have your Botanimate, it doesn't matter because you'll just get rid of the even if you use the Botanimate on the druid, it doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So this was kind of like This was really a mistake. I think this was really my only mistake I made. Because if had you had the Possomancer, I would have lost right there.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Yeah.
I'd taken my time a little bit longer, um, I should have checked your list just to see what other options you could have had. Again, like I said, I hadn't seen the Possomancer all game. I totally forgot about it. So I should have slowed down and taken a look at the list and seen that that could have been your out since you still had one creature on the board. Um, you could have just dropped it on the War Tusk to with the repurpose and then immediately replace something to hit me for three. So and then
Yeah.
right after I play this and I'm going through my discard pile, I think Crimson says, "What level's your Possomancer?" And then I'm like, "Oh F." I totally forgot about it, and I'm like, I totally just threw this game if he has it. And I was just like, adrenaline pumping right here.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I saw a Pockmancer once in this whole game.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is probably, I think overall my deck ran really well. Um, and I think that the Apocalypser is really the threat that can become like either a distraction or just enable me to push that last bit of damage. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Or
unfortunately,
clear the way if you have like a Dark Force Drain creature without breakthrough going on. Yeah.
right, exactly.
And your deck's really good at doing a lot of replacements in a single turn. Um, so I was definitely tired by this point. um,
Yeah, yeah,
and
and I knew you had the Mantis, and you know, I don't think I had really anything to be able to do.
yeah. So yeah,
So
here I'm able
yes,
to drop the Mantis, and then I activate to flip the bones. And then now that the bones are active, I can use the Forgeborn ability of the Dark Rebirth to sack the Mantis and bring it back over and over again. Um, so yeah, I Soul Siphon my Oak Father, and then that flips this. We don't bother with the life total because the game's basically over. So I'm able to activate to Dark Rebirth the Mantis over and over again, and that goes infinite life. And then that is the match there. So
yeah,
I think. I mean, I think we both played pretty tightly. I guess your concern was the only mistake you felt like you may have made was with the Botanimate upgrade. Um,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it would have, if you because you are the player that you are, if
yeah,
you knew that Pretendame was still an option, you wouldn't have played your Blight Witch, so it probably wouldn't have had much of an effect on the
right.
match. But yeah, that was one point where I felt like, yeah, maybe I should have done something different.
And again, my only place where I felt like I think I did everything I could. Like a lot of my plays, I hate to say it didn't take me a lot of thought, but there weren't really a lot. I didn't have a lot of options as the game was progressing. Like I had to play completely reactively and stay on plan. So it was a good match. It was really intense. And I know like
Yeah,
some yeah, and I know like some people think, oh, it's so cheese that you were losing and you hadn't even hit your opponent and you're going infinite, but like that's not the axis my deck is trying to win off of. So um,
right.
I'm trying to gain infinite life, so pressuring your life total doesn't matter to me. It's more of surviving till the end. Especially
Hmm.
since like of how poor I was drawing early on, and I got lucky with getting the batter height at just the right times. If I hadn't drawn it, then this game would have been over. A lot of things had to line up perfectly for this match to go the way it did. Um, but it was
Yeah,
definitely well
no,
fought on both ends.
yeah, no, and you played it really well, and yeah, you went undefeated, and in our first game, you did not gain infinite life.
Hmm.
You just won the old-fashioned
Yeah,
way.
I wonder. I don't remember if. Hopefully, Thomas was able to record that game. I know we were having some trouble with the internet, and his laptop died about halfway through. So maybe we'll be able to see what our game was because I'm struggling to remember how that game played out. So I'm interested to see the replay of it. I just remember that I was able to eventually push her life total down.
Yeah, I in the first game, a Pokemonster did show up, and I actually had a few good turns with the Pokemonster, but
Yeah,
I think I don't know what it was. there was a lot more vampiric Direhound that showed up in that game, and um, yeah, and there was a lot more incidental damage
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
that you were able to proc in that game.
Well, yeah. Well, thanks for doing the commentary with me. I'll hopefully, I mean, it was a really good match. Um, and I think this is a good, I like just, sort of going over kind of what our thought processes were, and how things played out. And I think it helps other players kind of see how these decks work.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And thank you so much, Ben, and congratulations again.
Yeah,
I
thank
look
you.
forward to your upcoming card. That's exciting. That
Yeah, I'm excited that that's gonna be a thing. I'm in the process of talking to them and seeing how that all works. But they just got back from we were all just back from the con this week, so we're all kind of recovering. So, so yeah, thanks for coming on. And I guess that will conclude our video. So, thanks again, Carl. And
thank you, Ben.
all right, and we'll see you guys all for the next video.